Good day again. It's good to be together. We've been thinking together about the importance of circles in the life of the church. We've learned that circles are better than rows. We've learned that ministry is not one way, that the Bible is full of scriptures about ministering to one another, loving each other, forgiving each other, caring for each other. Circles are good for the life of the church family, certainly in terms of the fact that we have a place where people know our name and where they know a little bit more about the ups and downs of our life. You don't always get that by sitting in a row in the sanctuary on Sunday morning. Circles are not just important for fellowship, but they're also important for life change. When I have a trusted group of Christian friends, they can pray for things I'm really going through, and we can meet regularly to get updated about that. Today, I want to have the opportunity to tell you about a very important visit I took to Korea in 1998. It was a great learning experience. There were several of us who were part of a learning group that was doing postgraduate work together at the United Theological Seminary in Dayton, Ohio, and we were privileged to go take a trip in the summer of 1998 to South Korea, where we were guests for a week from the largest Methodist church in the world at that time, Kwang Methodist Church. I'm going to show you a few pictures of some of the cool experiences that we had there in Korea. So this is the inside of the sanctuary there at Kwang Methodist Church in Seoul, Korea. At the time we were there, Kwang had about 85,000 members and was by far the largest Methodist church in the world. It still has, I believe, even more than that today. However, there's another Methodist church that's grown to about 140,000 members. So Korea certainly knows how to have large churches. Incidentally, one of the largest United Methodist churches in Virginia is the Korean United Methodist Church of Greater Washington, D.C. It's located in Northern Virginia. And so that's one of the reasons why Korean leadership is so powerful in our annual conference, because this is a strong, large church right here in Virginia that connects to the heritage of these large Korean churches there as well. This beautiful sanctuary is used about 5 or 6 times on Sunday. It's large, but certainly not large enough to gather the congregation together who comes each week. So they start about 7 a.m. and then through the day, the morning, the afternoon, and the evening, there are worship services there. Now, at the time we went, there were also satellite congregations, and the way that worked was some distance out from the main church, there would be a large church building there. Not as big as the main church, but they would gather on Sunday morning and have the live feed. Even back in 1998, they were doing all this, the live feed of the service at Kwang Lim. And then on Sunday evening, they would have a preacher there themselves. So they were part of the Kwang Lim worship service by the live feed in the morning, and then they would gather for their own service with their own preacher in the evening as well, those satellite churches. I don't know if they still do that or not, but that's one of the ways that the church was able to grow so large. Now, here's a picture of the exterior of the church building. One of the things they did was they're a perfect example of the Korean model of combining the large gathering in worship and then the small gatherings in the homes. Everybody was part of a smaller experience as well as the larger experience too. I found a key verse that they use to inspire their work even yet today, and that's Galatians 5:6. The only thing that counts is faith working through love. One of the things we were privileged to do was to accompany a couple of leaders of the church on home rotations through the week. They would make appointments to visit with about 4 households, and they would come in and visit with the people in the household there, and they would update information. Every family that was being visited had a hymnal in their home, and so the leader from the church would ask them, pick a song out of the hymnal and let's sing together. There would be teaching from the Bible. They would update the roster of information, pray together, and always enjoy some either lunch or snacks together with the family. I don't know how these workers keep their weight down if they make 4 or 5 of these visits during the day, because there's always the family receiving the visitor feeds feeds the visitors from the church. And it's always a male and a female. At that time, it was usually fairly structured, although they do have grown in the number of female pastors. So that the overseer was a gentleman from the church, and then they also had what was called a Bible woman. So there was never any discomfort about the visit from the church, as there was both a male and a female visiting. And we were able to tag along with them in small groups and see that, even though we didn't understand the language. It was quite a blessing. Now, even though these Methodist churches seem quite large, we also had the opportunity to visit the largest church of any type in the world. Both then and I believe still now had about 800,000 members, the Yoido Full Gospel Church. This was a church that was more of like what we would call Assembly of God, and had this huge sanctuary as well as satellite churches. And just to help us realize that there were indeed a lot of people, the time we visited was their Tuesday midday Bible study, and there were about 15,000 people who had showed up for midweek Bible study. If that tells you anything, that was certainly a pretty amazing experience. They were a little more demonstrative in their experience there during the time together. They not only had Bible study, they had a time of very boisterous prayer where a lot of the people were actually sitting in their seat and almost rocking as they prayed out loud all at the same time, and leaders would go around the room and pray with them. Certainly a memorable experience. Another memorable experience, we had the opportunity to go to Prayer Mountain of Kwang Lim Church, and that's actually where we stayed because people book experiences where they spend time at Prayer Mountain. So there's like apartments or little motel rooms that you can stay at, and we were fed and taken care of in such a marvelous way on Prayer Mountain. Prayer Mountain is a place where people come and spend extended times of period of prayer, maybe for a day. We went over to the large Prayer Mountain Chapel there, located some distance out in the countryside from the main church, and I think it was getting about 10:30 or 11 p.m. in the evening, so we walked over before it was time for us to go down for the night, and we saw a large number of people who were there praying. Some of them had little children with them who were asleep on the pews as they gathered to pray. There was somebody up front that was just reading from the Bible continuously out loud, and we learned that some of the people would spend all night in that chapel, and as they were praying and trying to sort of take a retreat from their world and get in touch with the power of God. There was also a trail up the mountain with places to meditation and stop and scenes from the life of Jesus, so we were able to walk along Prayer Mountain. Really, the heartbeat of how these churches can grow so large is that they are large and small at the same time. And the group life, the circles, is really what makes it work, that people stay connected. The pastor and the Bible women come by and visit your house. Friday evenings are normally a time where people gather, not at the church building, but in homes as they come together as well. So I told you this trip to Korea was an experience that I took with several other people that we'd been studying together here in the U.S. We were part of a postgraduate degree program for 3 years at United Theological Seminary in Dayton, Ohio, and we were hosted by a United Methodist church in the Dayton area. And next week I want to tell you a little bit more about that church and what I learned from them. We were able to connect with the leaders of this church for over a 3-year time, so we learned so very much. And we're going to continue for a few weeks on this theme of circles are better than rows, the one another ministry, the importance of connection in the life of the church, and how that applies to our church family as well. I want to tell you that when we finish this series, we're going to take a little different direction with the videos I post. After that series, we're going to become a little less churchy. And my weekly video content, I really want to be able to circulate it to you who are part of our church family, but also to folks beyond our church family as well. And so it's going to be talking more about things that I perceive, things I see going on around me, things I have read, things I've noticed in the world, and how that connects to being a person who follows Jesus in our day and time. It may be a little easier for you to share with others because it won't be just focus on things going on in our church family at this time. We'll continue to share video content when it's appropriate about things more connected to our church family as well. But my weekly videos are going to be a little more far-ranging than they've been in the past. But I hope you'll keep tuning in. We'll keep sharing that content and let you know how to connect to those weekly videos. But we have a few more weeks on this series here, that circles are better than rows, that we, as Christ cares, we learn to care for one another.